Hello, everyone. I'm the storyteller, and I'm here to accompany you today. I know you're watching this video to relax or help you sleep. So, first, please like and subscribe. Where are you from? What time is it? Relax, unwind, and enjoy the moment. An old-fashioned ghost story? I felt like, for that short time, I'd stepped into a ghost story. I don't know what a ghost really is, and in this story, I'm not sure who or what the ghost would be. I just know this world is a stranger place than I thought. I was a senior in high school at the time this happened. Things had been tough. I lived with my uncle and he barely made ends meet. I needed to make as much extra cash as I could for college. I took odd jobs as they arose, like babysitting. A single dad, Mr. Jasserman, had to go away on a business trip for a week. Hardly anyone in town even knew this man, other than rumors that he lived alone with a kid or two. I guess someone knew him enough to tell him about me because he called me one night around 11 p.m. I remember he sounded so distant on the phone. I had to strain to hear him. He kept telling me the kids would be no trouble, that they were 11 and 10 and took care of themselves. I think I felt for him because of the single dad part. That's why I said yes. When I told my friend Jess about it, she said, "Don't go, Chris. I have a bad feeling." "If I stopped doing things because of your bad feelings," I told her, "I'd stay home watching Maury and The Price is Right every day." "This is different," she said. "It's the same feeling I got the last time we saw your mom." "Jess, don't use that." "I wouldn't," she said. "This is serious. Besides, I heard strange things about them. Remember Kimmy Danzler? She said she babysat them once. They made her a sandwich before they went to bed. She was about to take a bite when she saw the way they were watching her, like they couldn't wait for her to take a bite. It weirded her out, so she opened up the sandwich. There was broken glass inside. That's an urban legend, and I'll make my own sandwiches." The first day. The house was far out of town on its own road. That wasn't so unusual. This was one of those huge houses built before most of the town went up. What was weird was, even though I was sure I'd never been there, something felt familiar about the house. Like I'd seen it in a dream, or so long ago I couldn't remember. The only thing that didn't feel right was the cell tower installed almost on top of the backyard. It didn't belong. I'd arrived a little late, only about 5 minutes. Mr. Jasserman looked at me strangely when he answered the door, like he was surprised to see me. I figured he was making a point, so I apologized. He didn't say anything in response, just kept looking at me. I noticed his eyes shaking. "Where are the kids?" I asked, getting nervous now. "Upstairs," he said. "That's where they go. I know exactly where they are." "Okay, well, don't let me get in your way. I'll go introduce myself." Then I added, mostly because I was so nervous, "You have a lovely house." That seemed to trigger something. "Oh?" This old place was built by a retired colonel in 1839. He was a very old man at the time. Some say he built it just to die in it. That'd make it a lovely tomb. A lot of history here. Every hand that's run across the door frames, every foot that's worn down the floorboards all left a bit of themselves. Some more than others. "Like ATT?" I quipped. "The giant rusting cell tower in your backyard. They abandoned it years ago," he said. "But these things never stop collecting signals. Abandoned things are like that. You should know." I didn't know what he meant by that. He was already walking away when he said it, down the hall and into another room. I guess I'd expected him to be a little odd, seeing how reclusive the family was. I went upstairs to see the kids. I heard a door slam downstairs. Later, when I went looking, he was gone. He'd left without giving me instructions or telling the kids bye. What a jerk, I thought. The kids, however, contrary to Kimmy Dantzler's story, turned out to be very sweet. I hung out with them a bit, watching them play. Like their dad said, they were mostly self-sufficient. On the first evening, they made some popcorn and put on a movie, The King and I. I thought that was a strange choice for kids, but I had no grounds for objection. "Yul Brynner is the best," the youngest Alex said. His older sister Jamie turned and smiled at me. I nodded, and she seemed satisfied. What was weird was how it gave me this reeling moment of déjà vu. The movie, the smile, the feel of the couch, the scent of the house. I felt I dreamt it all a few years ago. I could even remember thinking what a strange dream it was at the time I dreamed it. When the movie was over, Jamie came up to me and said, "Chris, can I tell you something?" She looked worried, like I'd be angry with her. "Of course," I said. "You can tell me anything, and it'll be just between us." "Strange things happen here," she whispered. "What kind of strange things?" She shrugged her shoulders. "I don't know. You can tell me." "A strange man is in here some nights," she said. "And other things." "Did you tell your dad?" She nodded. I thought she was going to tell me something else, but Alex was pulling her away. "It's bedtime," he said. I was concerned, but I wanted to give her space. Plus, it actually was their bedtime. They put up no fuss at all. They got in their pajamas, brushed their teeth, and hopped under the covers without coaxing. I went in to check on them one last time, when Jamie said, "We're glad you're staying with us again." "Again?" I asked, pretending to be shocked. I figured she was being silly. "Isn't this my first time here?" "No," she said, and she sounded so completely serious, I lost my good humor on the spot. I believe she meant it. "Are you sure it was me?" I asked, less sure of myself. "Ugh, of course I'm sure." I looked over at Alex to see if he agreed, or if he was maybe cracking up at the confused babysitter. I kept thinking of the glass sandwich, but he didn't look like anything. "Do you remember me, Alex?" "I don't know." He groaned and turned away. "Well, I'm glad to be staying with you," I said. I told them if they needed anything, I'd be in my room and wished them a good night. On the way to my room, I noticed a picture on the wall in the hallway. What made it stand out is, I hadn't seen a single other photo in the house since I'd arrived. No family photos, no school photos, nothing. Just this one. It was of a woman with a full-lipped, wide smile holding a baby girl. That had to be their mom, I thought. She reminded me of my mom. I felt a kinship with them just seeing it. It's almost like it was destiny that I be there for them, because I knew what it was like to lose your mom and to feel like you've been left alone in the world. The guest room the kids showed me was at the end of the hall. I felt I should be closer to the kids, but I can't say I minded the privacy. After settling down in the room and getting used to the musty smell and general creakiness of all the old furniture, I checked my phone. I had a text waiting from Jess asking how everything was going. I wrote back that I was fine, and it was a wholesome household. Jess answered, "I looked the house up on Street View, Chris. There's something wrong? For real? It's got like a big blurry spot in the middle, like it watched the Ring video." "That's where the panorama joined incorrectly," I wrote. "You see it all over Street View. Relax." A minute later. "I'm looking at it right now. It's not normal distortion. I don't know what it is, but it scares me. Something I'm missing." "What you're missing is common sense," I texted back. "But I love you anyway." She linked me to the Street View image before saying goodnight. And I had to agree she was right. It was a strange distortion, but what got me was, the house was in much worse condition in the photo, with siding and shingles damaged to the point of hanging. Only the old cell tower looked the same. A simple explanation would be, Mr. Jazzerman had just invested in some overdue upkeep, of course. I stretched out on the bed, suddenly feeling tired. I started noticing a drone in the room, a sound that I couldn't hear before, because I'd been too unfocused. The drone coalesced in my mind into an electrical buzz with random fluctuations of a more coherent sound. I listened intently, trying to figure out what it was, and I fell asleep hearing my mom's humming. I must have been dreaming by that point. The second day, I took the kids out to play in the yard and generally get fresh air. While the kids entertained themselves, I found myself watching the cell tower, almost like I was waiting for it to do something. From the backyard, I could see why it appeared to loom over the house. The legs had buckled on one side, causing it to lean over a portion of the yard. When the wind took up, the structure groaned and flakes of rust fell over the grass. What stood out most was, no animals were nesting in it, not even a spider web. I thought that was odd. I took a picture of the tower and uploaded it to Facebook. I was curious what others would think of it. Right after that, I heard the kids suddenly go silent. I saw them near the wood line, in the shadow of the tower. They were completely still. I shouted at them and got no response. No movement even. My heart felt like it stopped for a moment. I shouted again. Nothing. So I walked over to them, growing more concerned by the second. Then I saw what they were looking at. It was a dead dog, a brown lab. I touched each of them on the shoulder and told them to go in. I followed closely behind. I can handle a dead animal. This one, it looked exactly like a dog I had as a kid. It even had the same bright red collar my dog used to wear. My mom told me he'd run away one day. My friends told me that meant he was dead. What if she'd told the truth and he was alive all that time waiting for me to find him? I knew that couldn't be the same dog, but just the thought alone disturbed me. I played some board games with the kids all afternoon to change their minds. It worked. They had fun. We had fun. They were good kids. They were laughing and being silly in no time. First I'd heard them laugh, I realized. After finishing a game of Monopoly, Jamie asked quietly, "Did you see the ghost last night?" "Jamie," Alex said. I didn't believe in ghosts, but something about it, either the way she said it or the sounds I thought I'd heard falling asleep the previous night, it unnerved me. "What ghost?" I asked. "We know it's there because we hear the noise," she said. "But we're too scared to look out the window. We can feel it." "It tries to get in," Alex said. "Are you guys just trying to scare me?" I asked. "Maybe you know I'm allergic to ghosts." "It's not a good ghost," he said. He looked genuinely afraid. "Hey, I'll keep the ghosts away from you, okay?" I told them. "It's probably just a raccoon." The wind had grown stronger as evening fell, and the sounds of it wrapping around the drafty old house didn't help my nerves. Nor did it help when I checked my social media. A family friend who teaches at the university had commented on the picture I'd uploaded. "You wonder, seeing this abandoned cell tower," he wrote, "what happens to a device that was designed to form connections when nothing is given it to connect? Is there something still in there forming its own connections out of the ether?" He hit on something I'd been wondering in a way. What does this thing do now, besides rust? I sent him a private message asking him if he believed in ghosts. He replied, and I'm copying his words exactly, "I think the world is just one big thing. We get along by seeing the distinctions in things, separated by time and space. If you could go really far back from all that, though, you'd see it's one thing. Cell phones are as much part of the natural world as beehives, because this big thing tries to be more and more closely connected all the time. When something dies, that's a connection breaking apart, and there's just this emptiness there. I think sometimes that emptiness can get filled with something else. Maybe that might look to us like a ghost. It's nothing we should have anything to do with." He added after that, "Don't look for your mother in ghosts, Chris." I hated that. When someone assumed what I was thinking or why I was asking a question. I wasn't looking for my mom in ghosts. They never found a body. Sometimes, a lot of the time, I still feel she's alive. The kids were falling asleep, watching some old movie with Clark Gable, I think. So I brought them up to bed. They got themselves ready like the night before. Except that night they kept glancing toward the window the whole time. I checked in on them a few times until they were sleeping. Later that night, as I was getting ready for bed, Jess called. The connection was so bad, I had to keep asking her to repeat herself. "Just making sure you're okay," she said. "You can feel better," I told her. "The house has been fixed up a lot since that street view picture." She went so long without replying, I had to ask if she was still there. "Yes," she said, and through all the distortion, it didn't even sound like Jess. She wasn't really acting like Jess either. "Yeah, pretty much the only thing that hasn't been repaired is that cell tower." "Oh, what's going on?" "Nothing." "Jess, something's happening," she said. At that moment, Jamie and Alex burst into my room. I shrieked involuntarily. They didn't seem to notice or care. "It's out there," Jamie said. "Come quick." They insisted I come to their room and see, because they said I wouldn't believe them otherwise. "I'll call you back," I told Jess and followed them back to their room. "Look out the window," Alex said. "What am I going to see?" I asked. "The ghost," Alex said. "It's trying to get in again. Why does it want to get in?" They were so rattled it was rattling me. "I'll look out the window if you two get back in bed and relax," I said imperiously. I parted the curtains slowly, not sure what I'd be seeing. I sighed with relief and even chuckled for a moment. I was sure what I was seeing was a plastic bag blowing in the wind. They got me. I looked back at the kids, but they still looked so terrified I gave it one last glance. As I watched, the bag didn't blow in any one particular direction. First one way, then another. It danced this eerie dance around the rusting skeletal tower in the ink-black yard. I followed it with my eyes, almost entranced, trying to figure out what I was seeing. Then it started dancing toward me. It shuddered through space toward the window, seeming to pick up speed. And somewhere in that white substance, just as I was pulling the curtains shut, I thought I saw a woman's face. The kids groaned when they saw me backing away. It had to be just a bag, I told myself. It's right at the window, Alex whispered. It's trying to get in. Shh. I went to part the curtains again, but Jamie was already out of bed and grabbing my arm. It's right out there, she whispered. Can't you feel it? The buzzing, crackling static of the night air seemed closer than ever, as did the twisted groaning of the cell tower. I backed away from the window. I told the kids they could sleep in my room if they wanted, and they wanted. So that left me cobbling together a sleeping pad on the floor. I would have taken another room, but they didn't want me to leave. I guess I didn't really want to be alone either. Chris? Jamie asked, just as I was starting to doze off. Yes? Do you have kids? No, I'm only 17. Do you have a mom? Not anymore. What happened? Go to sleep, Jamie, I said. I couldn't sleep the rest of the night. While I tried, shifting to get comfortable, I kept noticing a spot on the wall near the baseboard that didn't look right, like it had been patched in some way. I tried to tap it to see if I was right, and my finger went through the wallpaper. It wasn't patched. There was just no wall behind the paper. When I pulled my finger out, a clump of straight light brown hair, much like mine, came out with it. I had to stifle a scream. I couldn't stay in there. I snuck out and called Jess back. Jess, things are getting weird here, I said. I think someone was murdered here, and the body is in the wall, and the ghost haunts the place. She didn't know what I was talking about, so I explained what happened so far. That's when she said, Chris, you see it, don't you? Doesn't it look like their dad murdered their mom? I couldn't think of anything to say. It did look like that. I told you not to go, she said. No, these kids need me, I said. Then I asked her, hey, what was going on with you earlier? What do you mean? On the phone. Nothing? I tried to call you, but you never answered. I talked to you, I said. Wasn't me. Listen, Chris, just get out of there. I know I whine a lot, but listen to me just this once. I had my cousin Gary touch up that street view image. Remember Gary? She found something. Just get out of there. Well, what did she find? Doesn't matter. Just trust me. I heard the kids stirring, so I told her I had to go. I spent the rest of the night wondering what I should do. Day 3. The next morning, during breakfast, the kids confronted me right away. Now, do you believe us? I hadn't even had a chance to make coffee yet. Yes, I said. I believe something was out there. What does it want? Jamie asked. I'm not sure, but I saw a face out there last night, and I think it looked like your mom. Maybe she just wants to... How do you know what our mom looks like? Jamie asked. Her picture's in the hallway upstairs. What are you talking about? Alex said. That's not our mom. Oh, I was a little shocked. Who is it? I don't know. Wasn't there until you got here, he said. We thought you put it there, Jamie said. Do you know the little girl in the picture? They shook their heads. I didn't put it there, I said. Besides, our mom isn't dead, Alex said. She just ran away. Dad told us so. Involuntarily, I remember thinking it was just like my dog, and ran away really means dead. But that was Jess's voice in my head. I'm sorry, I said. You must miss her. I really miss my mom. What happened to yours? Nobody knows, Alex. She was on vacation with her friends. A girl vacation. I remember the last thing she said to me before leaving was, "Don't worry, you'll see me again." But something happened. She didn't come back to the hotel one night. Her car was found crashed in a ditch. There was no sign of her anywhere. They say animals could have, but nobody knows. She disappeared from that car. Our mom disappeared too, Jamie said. It's not the same, Alex told her. She was getting weird, Jamie said. She used to talk to someone in the walls. It's true, Alex said. She'd lock herself in the closet sometimes, and sometimes she'd come out of a different closet. What do you mean? One time she went in and never came out, Jamie added. I wondered if it was a psychological way of understanding her mother being boarded up in the walls. She was in the closet somehow. But I was wrong. They showed me a letter and picture she'd sent just weeks ago to prove they were right. The letter was one sentence. I remember I miss you, but it doesn't work the same here. The woman in the picture looked nothing like the one in the hall. Later, I tried calling the number Mr. Jasserman first called me from, hoping it was a cell phone. Whenever it got through, all I heard was static and popping. That's when Jess sent me the photo her cousin had touched up. I wasn't in the mood, so I almost deleted it without looking. Almost. I looked at it and felt like vertigo. Where the blur was had been sharpened and there was clearly a face in the window. At first I thought it was the woman from the picture. When I looked closely, it looked more like me. That wasn't possible. I made up my mind. I couldn't stay in that house any longer. I told the kids to pack up a few things. We were going to have a sleepover at my house. They seemed pretty excited to be getting away. They were packed before I was. On the way down the stairs, I was shocked to see Mr. Jasserman walking out of the kitchen down the hallway. I guess the reason he wasn't answering was because he was in flight. I was about to go explain everything to him, but both kids grabbed my arm and pulled on me to go back upstairs. Something about the look in their eyes, I went with them. "That's the bad guy," Jamie said. "Your dad?" "Huh? Your dad," I repeated. They still looked so confused I felt the need to sarcastically elaborate. "You know, the guy who owns the house hired me to stay here." "That is not our dad," Jamie said. "He's just in here sometimes, usually at night," Alex said. "He crawls in circles around us when we try to watch movies, and you don't believe me anyway." "Tell her," Jamie said. "Sometimes he goes in the cellar and screams and makes this noise like, eeee, but it doesn't come from his mouth." "Wait, where's your real dad while this is happening?" "Away on business, except when you're here." I heard the screaming from the cellar just then. Strange screams, like a fax machine. I grabbed the kids and led them out of the house to my car. And just like that, we were leaving the place behind us. That's when it got stranger. Once I got out of the back roads and was on the main road, winding through the woods, I started losing control of my car. It kept pulling off the road, all on its own. I tried my best, but the car went down into the ditch and slammed into a tree. I barely remember that part. The last thing I remember is my mom's humming again. The next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital. A man I didn't recognize was there with my uncle and Jess. My uncle said this was Mr. Jasserman. He was a tall, older man, too old to have young children. "I was just bringing these flowers," he said. "I don't belong here." "What about Jamie and Alex? Did they find them?" "Who?" my uncle asked. "Oh my God," I said, feeling the most indescribable pit in my stomach. It was like some black hole, the same one that ate my mom, came back for them. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Jasserman," I said. "I tried to save them." Who?" "Your children." "I don't have children," he said. I heard some muttering about a concussion before I fell back asleep. And I thought about that old, decaying cell tower and what my friend had said about ghosts, and I wondered, in all those broken connections, what emptiness must be there and what must live in it. And that's it for today. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know what you think. Relax, unwind, and get some sleep. See you in the next video.